So we now move on to the fifth and final part of the Neuroex training video, which focuses on vision and hearing assessment. For vision assessment, we're using the Tumbling Ease Snellen charts, which were prepared for the World Health Organization as part of their low vision kit by Professor Jill Keefe of the University of Melbourne, and we're very grateful to Professor Keefe for sharing these materials with us. They have a number of advantages for our purposes. The first is that they're completely universal. They can be used with all different countries, languages and cultures, and the E symbols themselves can be recognised by people regardless of the different type of alphabet or character which they usually use. Also, it's possible for this vision test to be used by older people who have had no education and or who are completely illiterate. Any people under any of these circumstances can work out which the direction, the orientation of the E is and indicate that. Another advantage of the test is that, unlike most tests which are carried out at a distance of 6 metres, this test is calibrated to be carried out at a 3-metre distance, and given the confined space in which often we're operating, this is a very useful feature. Regardless of where you're carrying out the test, it's absolutely essential that there is good lighting to give the older person the best possible chance of being able to read and recognise the E symbols on the chart. If they normally wear glasses or contact lenses for distance vision, then it is important that they're wearing these glasses during the test. And the glasses should be cleaned beforehand, again to give them the best possible chance of seeing the symbols. In this test, we test both eyes simultaneously, and we use 4 vision charts to give us 5 different levels of vision difficulty or visual acuity. So the first chart tests at 6.6 visual acuity. The second chart, also at 3 metres, tests at 6.12 visual acuity. The third chart at 3 metres tests for 6.18 visual acuity. And the fourth chart at 3 metres tests for 6.60 visual acuity, but if used at 1.5 metres then tests for 3.60 visual acuity. The hearing test is the whisper voice hearing test, and for this hearing test we test the left and right ears separately, occluding the opposite ear so that the participant is only using the ear that we're wanting to test. The test must be carried out obviously in a quiet room, and if the older person usually wears 1 or 2 hearing aids, then these should be fitted and you should check that they're working before you carry out the test. For this test there are 4 levels of difficulty which are determined both by the volume of your speaking voice and the distance of your mouth from their ear. And those 4 levels of difficulty are an ordinary conversational voice at 15 centimetres, an ordinary conversational voice at 60 centimetres, a whispered voice at 15 centimetres, and then the most difficult test, a whispered voice at 60 centimetres. So we're next going to demonstrate the testing of visual acuity using the Snellen chart. And the first thing that you need to make sure is that the conditions for doing the test are adequate. So you need to ensure that there's a good source of light and that the room is brightly lit. Ideally, if there's a source of light such as a window, you need to ensure that the window is behind the participant and the window is then casting light on the Snellen chart so that the participant is able to read it clearly. So actually we need to rearrange things in this room and move the participant so that the window here is behind her and is then shining light from the window onto the Snellen card. So we will just stop for a moment and we will move the chairs around. That's fine. So this is a better way now of performing the test. We have the window behind Carolina, the window shining light here onto the Snellen chart. It may be that if the room is generally quite dark, that it may be better to actually go outside in order to perform the testing of visual acuity. The next thing that we need to do is to make sure that we have a distance of exactly 3 metres between Carolina and the Snellen chart. And for this purpose, you need to use the tape measure again, and you measure the 3 metres from the back of the participant's chair, which is then lined up more or less with the participant's eyes. So we'll just put the tape measure underneath the rear leg of the chair, and then we come in this direction like so. And here we have a distance of exactly 3 meters. This test should be carried out with the participant wearing their glasses if they usually do wear glasses. Now, you'll need to check whether these are distance vision glasses or near vision or reading glasses. If the participant only wears their glasses in order to read close up, then you should not ask them to be wearing these glasses. But if they're wearing glasses for distance vision, you should make sure that the participant has those glasses, that they're wearing them. You should also check that the glasses have been cleaned, because this can make a big difference to vision. And we're going to test vision in both eyes simultaneously. So, Carolina, do you wear glasses usually at any time?
No, contact lenses.
Okay, and do you have your contact lenses in at the
Yes.
moment? So you should also check this. If the participant wears contact lenses, then they should be wearing their contact lenses at the time at which you do the test. Now, these E's are referred to as tumbling E's. That is, it's all the letter E, but the letter is in different orientations. And you can ask the participant to indicate which orientation they're looking at, either by pointing. So, for example, for this E, they would point in that direction. For this E, they would point in that direction. For this E, they would point in that direction. For this E, they would point in this direction. And obviously a participant who cannot read and write should still be able to do that. Alternatively, if they can read and write and know the alphabet, they could say that this is an E, that this is a W, that this is an M, and that this one here is a backwards E. That would be another way for them to indicate which way the E's are pointing. So the first thing that you need to do is to check that the participant understood what was required of them for this task. So we'll just now do this with Carolina. Carolina, I'm going to show you here this chart with some shapes on it, which are different varieties of the letter E. So what I want you to do when you're looking at this from a distance is to show me which way the letter E is pointing. So, for example, this letter E is pointing in this direction. Can you show me which direction this letter E is pointing? Good. And which direction is this letter E pointing? Good. And which direction is this letter E pointing? Good. Thank you very much. So, looking at the Snellen chart, what we have here is 4 charts with different levels of difficulty for vision from a 3-meter distance. Now, this first chart, marked number 1, is the most difficult, and the E's on this chart are very small. So only a participant with completely normal vision would be able to see the E's on this chart from a distance of 3 meters. The visual acuity of 6.6 means that these E's could be seen by the participant at 6 meters, and a person with normal vision would also be able to see them at 6 meters. So that's the most difficult chart. Chart number 2 is slightly easier than chart number 1. You can see that the E's are bigger, and the visual acuity in this case is 612. What this means is that a normal vision person would be able to see these E's at a distance of 12 meters, but the participant would only be able to see them somewhat closer at a distance of 6 meters. Then we move to chart number 3, which is slightly easier still, and the E's are slightly bigger, and the visual acuity in this case is 618. That is, a normal vision person would be able to see these E's at a distance of 18 meters, but the participant can only see them at 6 meters. And then finally, we have chart number 4, which is the easiest of all, with the biggest E's, and in this case, A normal vision person would be able to see these E's from a distance of 60 metres, but the participant can only see them at a distance of 6 metres. So we're now going to start the testing of visual acuity, and we should start with chart number 3, which is testing for visual acuity of 618. And depending on the participant's performance, if they pass the test at this level, then we move to the more difficult chart with the smaller E's. If they fail the test at this level, then we move to the easier chart with even bigger E's than on chart number 3. So let's start with this chart. Carolina, I'd like you to look at this chart and these E's and tell me in which direction they're pointing. Let's start with this E here. Can you see that, and can you tell me in which direction it's pointing?
I see them a bit blurry. I would guess it's that way.
Okay, and this E?
That way.
Okay, and this E?
That way.
And this E?
That way.
Okay. Now, Carolina only got 1 out of 4 of these E's correct. In order to pass at any level, you need to get at least 3 of the E's correct. That's either 3 out of 4 or all 4 correct. So Carolina failed at this level. So what we're now going to do is move to the easier chart, which is chart number 4. Carolina, could I ask you to look at the E's on this chart and then tell me in which direction they're pointing? So let's start with this E here.
That way.
Okay.
That way. That way.
Okay. On this occasion, Carolina got 2 out of the 4 E's correct. So she still failed at this level because she would need to get 3 out of 4 correct in order to pass. So there's one more level of difficulty that we can try that makes this last chart even easier still. And what we do is we move closer to Carolina. We've been doing this at 3 metres, but we now move in to 1.5 metres. So 1.5 metres on the tape measure is here. So Carolina, let's look at this chart again. In which direction is this E pointing?
No, it's better. This way.
Okay, and this one?
That way.
And this one?
Up.
And this one?
Down.
So Carolina has passed, but at the easiest level of difficulty. So this is not 660 visual acuity, but it is 360 visual acuity that you would mark on the coding sheet. If she had passed this chart at this distance, then you would code at 660. Now what we're now going to imagine is that Carolina is somebody with better eyesight than she has just showed herself in that last testing. But we're going to start off again at the level of visual acuity of 618, and we're going to see where we go from there. So Carolina, I'd like you to look at this chart, please, and can you tell me in which direction this E is pointing? Good. And this E? Good. And this E? And this E? Good. So that was 4 out of 4, so Carolina has passed the test at, on chart 3, visual acuity 6 on 18. But she may have even better eyesight than that, so we now move to the slightly more difficult chart, which is chart number 2, testing for visual acuity at 612. So again, Carolina, could you tell me in which direction this E is pointing? Correct. And this E? And this E? And this E? Good. And again, Carolina has passed 4 out of 4. So we now move to the chart with the highest level of difficulty, with the smallest E's, and let's see how Carolina does with this chart. So Carolina, can you tell me first of all in which direction this E is pointing?
This one is a bit blurry.
Okay, and this E? Good. And this E? And this E? Good. So Carolina in fact got 2 out of 4 at that level. So in fact Carolina's vision acuity is 612, Not absolutely perfect vision, as would be indicated by 6.6 on this chart. She passed for the chart at level 2, that is 6.12 visual acuity. She failed at the level 6.6, and so therefore her visual acuity is 6.12, we will record on the chart. So Carolina's test performance was not perfect. If she had perfect vision, she would have 6.6 vision. So in any case, when a participant's vision is less than perfect, what we're going to do is to try to see if their visual acuity can be improved through the use of the pinhole glasses here. And effectively, these act as lenses in the same way as if you were wearing glasses, your vision might be improved. All that you ask the participant to do is to place this on their nose so that they look through the pinholes, and then you repeat the test at the level at which they previously failed. So Carolina, I'm going to give you these pinhole glasses, and I'd like you just to look through them like that for me. So remember that Carolina passed at 6.12, but she failed at 6.6. So we're now going to repeat this test at this level. What you can do, so that the participant doesn't remember which way round the E's are, you can use this in any orientation. So perhaps we'll try a different orientation like this time around. And Carolina, can you tell me which direction this E is pointing? Down, good. Which direction is this E pointing? Up, good. Which direction is this E pointing? To the right, correct. And which direction is this E pointing? To the left, correct. Thank you. So on that occasion, with the pinholes, Carolina passed on 4 out of 4 on this particular test, chart 1, at the visual acuity level of 6.6. So though her visual acuity was 6.12 without the pinholes, it's actually improved to 6.6 with the pinholes. That suggests that the prescription of a set of glasses for Carolina would improve her vision slightly. So we're now going to test the participant's hearing. And the way that we do this is we test it first of all in the left ear and then in the right ear. And when you're performing the test in one ear, then you want to mask the other ear so that the participant is only using the ear that you're testing. And the way that I would mask the right ear is that I would put my finger on the tragus, this little part of the ear here, and I would just press in gently to make a blockage, and then I would rub gently as I'm performing the test. And this effectively stops the hearing in the right ear and means that the participant is only able to hear what I'm saying in the left ear. Now, the way that we test the hearing is to say some numbers and then get the participant to repeat the numbers back to us if they have heard them. And the numbers that we're going to be using are a set of 3 digits, for example, 4, 9, 5. Now, we're going to be performing this test at different levels of difficulty. And the way that we make the test more difficult is to use a whispered voice instead of a normal conversational voice, and then, first of all, to do the test close up to the ear, and then at a further distance away from the ear. Now, I'm going to demonstrate how we do each of these two things. First of all, the distance from the ear. The closest distance from the ear is a distance of 15 centimetres. So this would involve you being here just 15 centimetres from the ear and saying the numbers 4, 5, 9. The further distance from the ear is a distance of 60 centimetres, so that would be a distance from here of 60 centimetres. You have the tape measure, and it may be a good idea for you to measure this yourself so you have a clear idea of being the correct distance away from the participant's ear. Now, the two levels of volume, the first one is a normal conversational voice, so this would be speaking to someone as if you were having a conversation with them, 4, 5, 9. So that's a normal conversational voice. If you want to do the whisper, then what you should do is breathe in, breathe out, and when you finish breathing out, you whisper the numbers. So that would be that would be the whispered voice. So the 4 levels of testing that we're going to carry out, the easiest level is with a conversational voice from a distance of 15 centimetres, 4, 5, 9. The next level of difficulty is a conversational voice from a distance of 60 centimetres, 4, 5, 9. The next level of difficulty is the whispered voice from a distance of 15 centimetres, 4, 5, 9. And then the whispered voice from a distance of 60 centimetres, 4, 5, 9. Good. Now obviously with these tests you can't keep on using the same set of 3 numbers, so we've provided you with a set of numbers here which you will be able to use in order for each of the tests. And you'll see that for each test you've been given 3 sets of 3 numbers. That's because the test is passed if the participant is able to accurately repeat all 3 numbers on the first occasion of testing. However, if they're not able to remember all 3 numbers on the first occasion of testing, then you repeat the numbers in the same way twice more. So the first set of numbers is 495, the next set of numbers is 183, the next set of numbers is 762. So if we do it 3 times, then there are 9 numbers in all, and the participant has passed if they remember at least half of those 9 numbers. That is, at least 5 out of the 9 numbers remembered and repeated accurately. Now, because the tests start with the easiest test, that is a conversational voice from a distance of 15 centimetres, and then goes to the most difficult task of all, which is a whispered voice from a distance of 60 centimetres, if the participant fails at the first level, there's no point in going on to the more difficult tests, because if they fail the easiest test, they're not going to be able to pass the more difficult ones. So as soon as a participant has failed at a certain level of difficulty, you then stop the task, the test, and you don't need to go on any longer. So I'm now going to be demonstrating how we would perform this test, testing hearing in the right ear. One further thing to mention is that if a participant uses a hearing aid normally, then you should encourage them to be wearing that hearing aid when you perform that test in the appropriate ear. What we're going to do is just test the hearing in Carolina's right ear. Ordinarily you would start with the test in the left ear and then you would repeat the test in exactly the same way in the right ear. But you do that in the same way, so we're just demonstrating this with one of the 2 ears. So Carolina, I'm going to be testing your hearing in your right ear, if I may. And to do this, I'm going to need to just mask your left ear by placing my finger here and rubbing gently, if that's okay with you. What I'm going to do is read out 3 numbers to you, and then if you've heard them, could you please repeat them back to me?
Okay.
So we start here, and we start with the easiest level of difficulty, which is the conversational voice close up at 15 centimetres from the ear. So 495.
583.
So just one of those numbers, 5, was repeated correctly on that occasion. Mark that on your card so that you remember. 183.
294.
And on that occasion, none of the numbers was remembered. 762.
352.
Okay. And on that occasion, just one of the numbers was recalled. So on this occasion, only 2 of those 9 numbers were recalled, and so Carolina has failed this test at the easiest level. So we don't now need to go on to test conversational voice at 60 centimetres or the whispered voice at 15 centimetres or the whispered voice at 60 centimetres. But we're now going to demonstrate the test again and show this performed in a better way with a participant with better hearing levels than Carolina showed on that first test. So Carolina, we're just going to now test your hearing in your right ear. 495.
495.
So on that occasion, the first administration, Carolina has repeated the 3 numbers all correctly, and so she's passed the test at that level. And so we now move on to the next level with a new set of numbers. And so this is now going to be the conversational voice at 60 centimetres. 278.
278.
And so Carolina has also passed the test at this more difficult level, the conversational voice at 60 centimetres. So we now move to the next level of difficulty, which is the whispered voice at 15 centimetres. 913.
913.
And Carolina has passed the whispered voice at 15 centimetres, so we now move to the highest level of difficulty, which is the whispered voice at 60 centimetres. 852.
852.
Good. So Carolina demonstrates perfect hearing in her right ear, and you should code on the chart whether or not a hearing aid was worn in the ear in which the test was carried out, and then the highest level at which the test was passed. So on this occasion, the highest level at which the test was passed was the highest level of all, which is the whispered voice at 60 centimetres, and so for that right ear, the code would be 4.